Hey, Alex, it's so great to have you here.
It's my pleasure. It's like a dream to be here, actually. You know, I've been thinking about this place a lot.
Hi, Alex.
About
nice
the
to meet you.
masterminds behind Metropolis Ark. It's like, wow.
And I really like your videos, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what popped directly into my mind is, why is this guy using FL Studio?
It's about sending a message. No, like, I like the fact that people don't believe it's actually good. And, well, it actually is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I like to show people there's different ways to do stuff. Even my music, I compose without knowing music theory a lot. And some people attack me for it, like, how dare you make music without knowing theory? And you promote this message and people don't need to study to make music. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is, like, I promote this message that people can make music in way more ways than they think about. So when they say, you cannot make orchestral music with FL Studio, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Yeah,
and also I started from that, so it was like just...
It's kind of just about like knowing your tools and then,
Yes.
you know, being like creative and
Yes.
doing everything you have in mind, basically.
Yeah. And I like the FL Studio guys too, because it's a great team, they do lifetime updates and...
You're
they,
kind of ambassador, right? Like
yeah, they got in touch
the-
with me and they're like, hey, thank you for making videos with FL Studio. Become one of our pro users for something. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And to be honest, FL Studio was my very first DAW. Yeah.
What version?
I don't know. I mean, I
was
was
like-
I
It's one with
was
this
15
kind of bizarre
or so,
girl.
or 14.
Okay, so it
very
changed a lot.
young.
It changed a lot.
And yeah, and that's what I thought when I saw your videos. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's pretty close to what we know from Logic.
It's like
and
seeing that
Cubase.
ex-girlfriend 10 years after, you're like, oh, God, she's hot now. Yeah.
But there are users who are using Ableton for creating soundtracks as well, which I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, Daniel James was doing that. Then he moved
Yeah.
to Cubase for some reason.
Yeah, well, it's always a kind of trend.
Yeah.
Like when people kind of move to like sometimes it's really about like sharing projects when you're kind of involved with other people,
yeah,
you know,
for
and
sure.
that I can kind of understand. Like nowadays, I think because I'm using Studio One like since years now, and then currently people are like saying, okay, this might
a
be
nice
cool.
big thing,
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like very minimalistic, and I kind of really like that about this software. And last week I had the opportunity of kind of presenting our library, so I had a complete kind of orchestral tools and organic samples templates, which I presented at Soundtrack Alone.
Okay.
And basically, you know, I was composing like 1 hour long, and really I was starting out from scratch, and everything is like so kind of, you know, it's such a minimalistic way
So it's immediate.
that, yeah. So there's really like kind of, I guess, like you're doing with FL Studio, what you have in mind, you can directly kind of...
Yeah, the thing I like about FL
do it.
is that the piano roll is amazing. I cannot really play piano very well, so that's another limitation I have. I'm a composer with loads of limitations. And I chose a software that lets me actually, you know, go beyond them. Like, I tried Cubase once, and you have to either record everything, or if you use the piano roll, it's hell, because it's so slow and everything. While in FL Studio, there's so many shortcuts that you can write loads of notes without even, like, having to spend so much time. And I got used to that. So now, I don't know, like, I should try probably Studio One or something, just because I'm curious, but I really like FL.
Well, there were like several people who like asked me, okay, I'm just starting out really, and I don't want to lose much time. And I was like, okay, just if you're into composing with like libraries and such, they watch everything I was doing, and you know, 1 hour is really not much. And I by the way also published the track on SoundCloud, and people have really had the opportunity of knowing, okay, what you can achieve in 1 hour. And when you basically are using these softwares which are designed not to be tweaked this much, then you go like straight away to what you have in mind.
That's what I like.
And this is really kind of...
That's what I like about orchestral tools too. You know, like Metropolis Ark 1, I don't have to tweak it infinitely to make it sound great, you know?
And you look like a power user of Metropolis Ark 1.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
In
Like,
nearly
talked a bit,
every
like,
video I
about
saw,
it.
you're telling, oh, this is
it's-
Metropolis Ark 1, and I thought,
but
okay,
I
this is the
just love
most...
it so much, and maybe people think that you pay me or something, but we haven't even talked until now. And it's like, I just love it so much. I haven't tried the 2, 3, and 4 and stuff, but the one for my sound, because I like to write this kind of orchestral music that is like too loud to be allowed. Like, it's stupid loud, my kind of music that I like to make. And Arc 1 is so loud that I don't even like... I remember the first time I opened it, and I bought it, and it was like, I don't know, should I get it, should I not, or something. And then I kept on thinking about it for a week, and the intro price was gonna go away the day after. So I was like, I'm gonna buy it now. Bought it, I opened the low strings patch, which I don't know, I don't know what it's called. I don't remember.
We can kind of try to tell you how to pronounce it like properly in German.
Do you know
'cause,
the name of low strings patch?
Isn't it like something like Finkenstein? Something like that?
Wolfenstein strings.
Oh yeah, you know. Yeah.
What's the story behind the names, by the way?
Yeah, we picked the names from the streets around the Teldex Studio.
Oh,
And really directly here, I mean,
do you
even
know,
the
we are
studio
here
here.
at the Finkenstein Street, so Teldex is at the Finkenstein Street. And we also have
That's a good
Finkenstein
patch
Strings.
name.
So,
nice. That's great.
and those names here around the studio really fit perfectly into the Metropolis concept.
They sound like threatening. Like,
Yeah.
understand. I opened that one and I pressed the lowest note on sustain. And
Yeah.
it sounded like nothing I ever heard in my life before. You know, like okay, I bought the right one. You know, so ever since trying that library, I kept on using it because it just sounds so good without me having to do lots of mixing and stuff. People actually get like, one of the questions I get more often is like, hey Alex, how do you do mixing? Can you explain mixing and stuff? And the more music I make, the less I mix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm getting lazy, or maybe I'm just using software that are so good that I don't really need to like mix a lot.
Well, basically, I'm thinking that this might be also because you really know how to kind of divide your sections into separate like frequencies.
Yeah.
Because I also, like when I was starting out, you know, I didn't really think about okay, where do I place my instruments and what kinds of frequencies are they covering.
Just did everything.
And when you know, okay, these you know like low woodwinds, they cover the very low end so nicely.
Yeah.
When you use like exclusively these ones and maybe just layer them with a tuba or something like this, you kind of have it, you know, and
Yeah.
you don't have to put like these much things into it, and so you have like so much headroom because like everything is separated like nicely that at the end mixing is like okay, maybe some EQ here and there, and that's it, and then it gets like super loud because you don't have this kind of mushiness, you know, at the end.
Yeah, we also tried for Metropolis for the whole series to create new sections which are not really common in a symphonic context, and especially for the low strings which you mentioned. It's we decided to pick 12 double basses playing together with 6 celli, so we have an unbalance between the celli and basses, and that's why it sounds so loud, so big and thick.
Damn,
Yeah.
now I know the secret.
And we did a lot of things like that in Metropolis just to get another perspective on what you can do with orchestral instruments.
I like that. You know, I like to see people who try different things because it's very interesting where sometimes the library developers seem to agree on, hey, let's all make string libraries now, or let's all make brass libraries now.
Yeah.
And what people pay attention to is the outlier. You know, the guy who does, hey, no, I'm going to do something very different today. I'm going to do some maybe like, you know, Junkie XL Brass. Like, man, what the hell? Even just the name makes you understand this is going to be very different.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm interested
And
in that.
he's so much involved into this product. It's really much more than just his name on the package. He made a concept for it, and he's really into technology with some ideas which I can't explain for now. It's a little bit top secret, but I think this library will get a game changer in the industry for brass writing, because you have a super consistent set of brass instruments, also with all the consistently sampled dynamic layers and the different section sizes and stuff. So it's really a workhorse.
So it's gonna work like for soft and loud stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I would find very cool to know is what were you like missing when you were starting out? Just, you know, to save time, or also to, you know, lots of people are kind of stuck into a problem and they don't really know how to kind of proceed.
One thing you said before, like the thing about frequencies and like writing an arrangement in such a way that you put stuff in a way that then you feel the arrangement rather than blasting stuff and hoping it's gonna sound good. No, you're gonna use contrabassoons here and the tuba, and then, you know, that's one thing. Another thing I wish I knew is how to not give a fuck, you know, about like what people think, because like, I think that limits us and makes us want to do certain things just because we want to look cool to other people.
Yeah.
My goals are not usually very understood 100% by people, and I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
But before, I tried to do what people was. Actually, I started by making EDM music, you know, electronic music, because I love Zed and other guys, and I wanted to make electronic music with orchestral stuff in it. But the reality is that I just wanted to make orchestral stuff, but I thought people didn't like orchestral stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna do something cool and then put some nerdy orchestral stuff in it, and it never worked out. Never worked out. All the electronic music I made was always sounding like soundtrack. I remember this friend of mine commenting a track of mine, which was electronic, high energy trance, and he said, "Oh, I like that part. It reminds me of Sim City." I'm like, "Dude, what the hell? This is like supposed to be a banger, remind you of Tomorrowland, not Sim City the game." But then I had to admit to myself, I actually have to do the stuff that comes natural to me, and that, it's like soundtrack, stuff like that.
Yeah. This might really be something where people are like really getting inspired by. And so yeah, once again, nice having you here on board.
Thank you, man. Wow, that's kind words. Thank you very much. Like, it's interesting because my whole life has been a struggle with that. Even before I made music, I always wanted to do what people wanted me to do. I never asked myself, what do I want to do? And when I turned 19, I started making music. That's the time when I said, hey, I want to be myself. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I started making music. I started telling everyone. People were like, in Italy, you don't get respect if you're a musician. So people were like, oh, get a real job. What the hell are you doing? Whatever. And then I also started doing weird things like walking in parks alone, going places alone, just meditating and stuff that is like very esoteric. And people were like, you're weird. I read books about, artistry and how to be inspired, how to become like a businessman or something. And many of my friends got estranged because they're like, man, you changed. What the hell is wrong with you? And like, I'm discovering myself and going for what I want in life. Yeah, and that's leading me to become a different person. To become the person I always was. And if you think I'm weird now, I suppose we were never meant to be friends. So that was, the beginning when I started to have this divide between what people want me to do and what I want to do, and then that bled into my music, and now it's just how it is, But it was a long. I'm still on that path now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing I wish I knew.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. What I really like, and what kind of where I was like really interested in doing things like sampling and such, and like composing for media, was okay. Nowadays, it's possible to have like a really kind of small setup and to have like such a big sound, at your fingertips, and with also coming back to these libraries, but like the entire Orchestral Tools kind of libraries, they're like formers when you take some of the Metropolis Ark libraries, they have kind of a small footprint, so they don't use this much CPU and such, but you have like such a big Hollywood sound directly, and this is what really got me interested into composing and making my own samples with the organic samples.
You want to have that sort of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Alex, when you start over at Cook with a new piece of music, do you load each sample set as an instrument, as an individual instrument, or do you use a kind of a template where you use all those instruments?
I tend to have a template that I start from, and it's full of like those multi-patches with multiple like articulations. One thing about the FL Studio that I like is called BRSO Articulate. It's this plugin that is awesome. It makes the piano roll into a beast because you can change the articulation based on the MIDI colors. So you can have like, a whole piano roll for one instrument, and then you say, here I want to use staccato, here I want to use spiccato, here I want to use sustain. Just change the MIDI color of the note, it's going to change the articulation. So I don't have to go and do the key switches.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lifesaver, and actually I was introduced that by one of my haters. And one cool thing that happens when you promote yourself on the internet, you talk about the way you do stuff, you get the haters.
Yeah, sure.
So one time I was using Metropolis Ark 1, and I began by using not the multi-patches, I just used the different articulation patches. And I used them for so long that I forgot that the multi-patches existed. And I made a video and I said something about that, like, yeah, I use these like articulations from patches. And the guy was like, oh, you're freaking retarded, why don't you use the multi-patches? And like, there's no multi-patches. Yeah, there are, and you should use BRSO Articulate, you freaking retard. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, by the way, that was me.
Oh, thank you, Hendrik. No, and then the guy told me, I'm like, I downloaded it, and it's the best, so now I have that.
Yeah. So I tried to say to Hendrik, please calm down a bit. Maybe he's gonna
be aggressive, Hendrik.
But to be honest, I'm using the single articulation patches.
Really?
Yeah, all the time, because I'm one of those guys who are using tons of MIDI channels, and I just want to blend different articulations over each other to create.
Okay, so if I had to use key switches normally, like when you have to put the note.
Yeah.
I would probably use multiple articulation batches too. But with PRSO Articulate, it's so easy and it's so beautiful. You can just do everything in one thing. And the beautiful thing is that the modulation wheel and the expression applies to every single
Okay.
That's great.
Right.
That's
time.
great.
So
Yeah,
it's just it's awesome.
yeah.
Life changer.
And sometimes we have those blurred articulations, for example, which you can use to create fast runs or.
I love those.
Yeah,
I tried it once, when I was live streaming and I was writing this like 7/4 or 7 like weird odd time signature horror track.
Yeah.
And someone said, "Hey, why don't you try the blur articulation?" I never used it, and I tried to do like fast passage, like, something like that. It sounded like Satan was into my computer. It was so good, man. I loved it. I was like, when you spend 10 minutes just listening in loop to something you wrote because it's just that's the blur articulation. That's what it did to me. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So
What I really like about these libraries and what I try to do basically with my own kind of organic sample thing is like just getting people inspired just by the sounds, because you have like a really not just the room which sounds like great and such, but also like having a performance basically at your fingertips, which may also lead into in a kind of special way to kind of write at the
That
end.
really helps. I believe the only when you start making music, the only predicator to success into writing that track is how good you're feeling. So if you're using instruments that make you feel like a badass, you're gonna be way more inspired.
Yeah, it's a kind of privilege also, like just being able to record live instruments. But for people who are relying entirely on sample libraries, they think like, okay, you can do like legatos, staccatos, and spiccatos, maybe things like that, and maybe like things like sul ponticello, and that's it. But like an instrument can do so much more.
Yeah.
And when you kind of record all these different articulations, this is by the way what I really liked about Orchestral Tools when we were setting up this partnership. Was like, okay, they really seem to care about details, and this is really something where I'm a big fan of it. Just like presenting the instrument as it, like recording the most out of it, and then
because it gives the composer the most freedom to actually
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
it sound realistic.
Yeah,
I'm very interested in like the Berlin series that you guys made, like with brass and everything, because like a friend of mine in Prague showed a track to me that he wrote, and the brass, it sounds like, oh my god, it sounds like a movie. And I'm like, what are you using? Oh yeah, Berlin brass or Orchestral Tools. Like, oh, okay. So I want to get my hands on that. Like, it sounds very, very realistic. Very, very interesting.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it got a great reputation too. There's some developers that I cannot say I trust very well, because sometimes they focus on making everything look cooler and everything, like beautiful graphic user interface, awesome trailers. Then you buy the library and it sounds like crap. But I never had that with Orchestral Tools. And I like the fact your libraries look very minimal. It sounds as if you're just focusing on the sound. And I love that, That's very precious. So that, for me, it gives me trust in your brand.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much for that feedback.
Nice.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, because actually, I mean, like this, what you just said, also about the graphical interface and such. This is also really a kind of goal of us, just to have this exact same thing, but even better, even more playable, with our new sampler.
And on top of that, we really try to make things more convenient and just better for producers and film composers. And one thing is the auto volume scaling, which I'm quite proud of. It's an automatic engine that detects the volume of the main sample and the legato transitions. I mean, it's a little bit nerd talk, but
no, that's very interesting to hear. Because we just use it, we don't really know. But
because quite often you have this problem that the legato transitions are sticking out and stuff. And with this new system, it always analyzes how loud is the articulation you're playing right now, and then it fits the transition with the same volume. And this is really something also
how
for
do
the
you come
release
up with these
samples.
things? This is like, did you get inspired just like with music when you're in the shower, you sing a song? Like when you're in the shower, you sing a melody. Like, oh, cool melody. Maybe you got this idea of auto level scaling when you were in the shower.
I mean, that's
how do you
not
come
really
up with that?
inspiring. Yeah,
That's how I know.
How does it happen? Like, it doesn't seem like it's...
It happens exactly like when you compose a music, a piece of music, and you recognize, okay, the legato transitions are sticking out, and why do I have to open those many tracks now to change something, because I have to change the whole template with different microphone position setup, whatever. And we just try to make things more easy, more convenient, And also I think the whole distribution of sample libraries is so complicated nowadays that you have to go to a website and you buy a whole collection because you just want one single instrument, right? And then you download this stuff and you have to open up native access and you have to register this thing, you have to bring it into contact, whatever, this whole chain of getting a virtual instrument to
and
work.
And then God forbid if you lose access to, like, your computer dies and you have to re-download everything.
And sometimes you're just in the middle of a project and you think, I just need a duduk, for example. And in this new player, you just type in duduk and it offers you a full collection with different ethnic stuff, but you can also just buy the duduk, for example.
I think it's a great way to defeat piracy as well. You know, if you make it, Spotify did that.
Yeah.
Spotify made it easier for people to listen to music rather than download it, and in so doing, like, Spotify pays the
did the same with iTunes. I mean, I remember when I went to a record store to buy a CD, and the piracy was crazy. So
because it was even much easier. No, it's not only about the money. It's like it was much easier.
Yeah, I think
more convenient.
That's
basically.
the point.
Yeah, but when I with Spotify, no one thinks about piracy anymore.
And you just want to be in the flow, and you just need the instruments at this certain situation.
Yeah,
and
it's great you guys are doing. I see, like, that's what I appreciate. You guys do things differently, and you care about your clients. I think it's the best recipe for success.
Yeah, I think it's really, you know, everything kind of also how we also try to continue in these projects. Like, okay, how do we feel really as potential customers?
Yeah.
How are we going to work with these tools? You know, because we are actually then like using them. Yeah, absolutely. So does this place kind of remind you of something?
This is the place. This is weird. This is the place where the choir that got me one of my first track placements.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I had to write this track, like sound design track for Naval, and I got mad. I wanted to be more creative, so I used some Marcato choir from Metropolis Ark, and those choir actually got me a placement because they used that exact part.
Yeah,
really
that's amazing. This is great.
That's the moment where I was like, I'm gonna use this library way more. You know,
So, Alex, thank you very much for stopping by during the session here, and it was a great conversation with you.
Great talking to you.
This place is insane.